Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? It's Thursday. We got a show. We got a fun show for you all today. And you know what? Some actually maybe good news. Oh, what? What? Okay. Anyway, look, we have the usual, cavalcade of ghouls, of course, as usual. We're gonna have fun. We got, of course, Alex Jones. Ditching Donald Trump. Oh, it's on. It's on now. We have the return of Mike Pillow. Yes. Haven't seen Mr. Pillow. Not in a while. So he's back. Fun. We have Dr. Oz, of course, getting once again schooled. And it appears that some of the book bans that have been going on have inadvertently swept up books that conservatives like. And big surprise, they're not happy with it. Fun. All right, so let's start out though with Trump's CFO, Alan Weisselberg. I don't know why I said it like that. Weisselberg, whatever. Anyway, that said, why don't we dive into the first story? Oh, before we do, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Cavalcade is a fun word. It is a very fun word, and I'm trying to bring back some of the old words, some of the old good words, the fun ones, like nincompoop. I love nincompoop. That's such a good word. Anyway, why don't we start out? On Thursday, Trump Organization executive, or I should say former executive, Alan Weisselberg, pleaded guilty to 15 criminal tax fraud charges. Oh, interesting. So now those charges allege that he and the Trump Organization had schemed together to evade federal, state, and local taxes. So this is a tax fraud charge. Okay. Now, Weisselberg, 75, who started working for the Trump family nearly 50 years ago and served as its longtime CFO, admitted to omitting about $1.7 million in personal income from his tax filings between 2005 and 2021. He agreed to full repayment of taxes due plus interest totaling nearly $2 million. All right. Now, look, this is part of the result of the expected plea agreement with Weisselberg, and is contingent, because this is very important, contingent that he testify in a criminal trial against the Trump organization. Now, again, important to note, this is not against Donald Trump himself. Donald Trump is not going to get in trouble for this, but his organization very well could. Very well could. So now that, again, it could even lead to the possible dissolution of the Trump organization. Trump's business empire gone. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case. We're going to have to see. Nonetheless, very serious charges with this tax evasion. More details. Now, the plea agreement requires that Weisselberg testify truthfully if called to take the stand in a criminal fraud trial scheduled to proceed against the Trump organization. Jury selection in the case is scheduled for October 24th, and Weisselberg's official sentencing, tentatively agreed to as a split sentence, including 5 months incarceration and 5 years probation, is postponed until after that trial, although a judge mentioned a sentencing date of November 17th during Thursday's proceedings. Again, we don't necessarily know when the sentencing is, okay? Now, prosecutors recommended a split sentence of 6 months imprisonment and 5 years in probation. Weisselberg's attorney told the judge that he agreed to a 5-month incarceration. However, prosecutors said sentencing would happen at the conclusion of the Trump Organization trial because the agreement is contingent upon Weisselberg's follow-through with testimony in the case. So that is, of course, smart. They're using it as leverage for his testimony if he does not come clear. Because understand, in order to make a plea deal, to plead down your sentence, you've got to have some pretty good information, or the prosecutors have to believe that you have some sort of information that will help their case against the organization itself. And so, okay, now I like how they use the leverage because they're afraid of that Mr. Weisselberg is going to lie to them, which is, again, very, very, very likely because they're all liars. Again, lying to the federal government for years and years on their tax forms in order to pocket personal income. Yeah, giant lies. And so, of course, I wouldn't trust them. So this makes sense. This makes sense a lot. Now, that said, 5 months, that's nothing. That's super, super easy. Oh, kid gloves, slap on the wrist. Not happy at all about that. Okay? Now, the Manhattan District Attorney Office alleged in their indictment that Weisselberg and the Trump Organization participated together in a scheme to disguise this employment compensation that went then unreported to tax authorities. Weisselberg illegally failed to report indirect payments by the Trump Organization that should have been reported as income. According to the indictment, payments went from the Trump Organization to support Weisselberg's Upper West Side, New York City apartment, tuition payments for his grandchildren, and Mercedes cars for himself and his wife. As for the Trump Organization, prosecutors alleged the company failed to pay payroll taxes for the compensation in question and to withhold income taxes on wages, salaries, and bonuses paid to Weisselberg and other employees. So now, here's the thing. I mentioned how this is super, 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 super light. Okay? Normally, if you're a normal, average human being, if you misrepresent financial details or conceal that information, you could get 5 years in prison. 5 to 15. So, look, that's an issue. That's an issue. Again, on average, those facing jail time for just tax evasion, and again, it all depends on the amounts and the time that it was evaded and the methods used to do so. But generally, for you, it's around 3 to 5 years in prison. This guy gets a plea deal for 5 months. Oh, that's got to be a real sweet deal. Now, of course, there is, again, conditions. If he gets caught up in a lie, or if his information is not as good as he claims it is, or he fails to pay what he owes in taxes, well, there could be some pretty bad consequences for it. During the hearing, District Judge Juan Merchan advised Weisselberg that he could spend in between 5 and 15 years in prison, saying, quote, "If you fail to testify truthfully at the upcoming trial of the Trump Organization, I would then not be bound by my sentence promise." Well, if that's the case, well, then we're talking. Then we're talking. Because look, my biggest concern here would be, yeah, getting this super nice deal, maybe getting out early for good behavior, and then not being honest when he testifies. And so if they had sentenced him before his testimony, afraid that, he would just go and he would lie, and then he'd be like, what are you going to do? I'm going to serve my time, my 5 months, and then get out. Thankfully, I'm not the only one who had that concern. That said, we're going to see if his testimony is worth that really, really good plea deal, and if he actually does intend to flip on the organization itself when it goes to court in October, November-ish. So we'll see what happens. Isn't this the same Manhattan District Attorney handling Weisselberg, the same one who weaseled out of prosecuting Trump a few months ago? Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg is someone you're talking about. Okay, so let's be honest. There's so many different investigations that I'm not 100% sure which DA this one is. Because I know there's Letitia James, and I know there was Alvin Bragg that was handling a criminal a criminal probe into Trump and then weaseled out. Again, I'm not sure offhand what this one is. It is a good question, though. All right. Let's see. By taking the deal, Weisselberg cannot take the fifth. Yeah. Letitia James is the state attorney general in New York, right? And Bragg is the Manhattan district attorney. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, there is the Southern District of New York as well. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Alvin Bragg is in a New York County Manhattan DA. Yeah. If it's one thing the former grifter-in-chief Donald Trump hates, it's people making money off his name. Interesting. Now, that's according to several advisors to Trump speaking off the record on, well, not off the record, but anonymously to the Daily Beast. In fact, according to one senior Trump advisor, speaking on the condition of anonymity, saying of people in former President Trump's orbit who are making money off the Trump brand, quote, he notices. He notices who was there, who will be there, and why they are there. But does he also know when you're sleeping and know when you're awake and know if you've been bad or good? I don't know. It sounds weird, but then again, knowing how Mar-a-Lago is filled with security cameras, maybe I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, okay. Now, this advisor continued by saying, the grifters seem to be the people who disproportionately enriched themselves during Trump's presidency. Oh, see, you understand. Only I can make money off my name. Me, Donald Trump, and maybe Ivanka, because I like Ivanka. I would date her if she wasn't my daughter. But everybody else, I'm watching you. I'm watching all of you. I know if you're good or bad. Okay, well, that's funny. Who are these people? Again, you have to have some names, right? So let me give you, by the way, a little bit of a caveat. This is coming from sources in Trump world. We know that sources inside of Trump world hate each other. There's so much backstabbing that's going on. And so I'm not going to be surprised that some of these names, again, might be thrown out for their own purposes. But anyway, let's get to it. Here's what they said. For one, they named one Charles Kirkington, or Charlie Kirk. Charles Kirkington III, Esquire. No, I don't know. I'm being super ridiculous right now. But one senior Trump advisor said, you can't forget Charlie Kirk, with another advisor naming Kirk as one of the biggest grifters in Trump's orbit. Some around Trump feel that Kirk and Turning Point USA, I almost called it Toilet Paper USA, are associating themselves with the former president to cash in. Yeah. I mean, big surprise? One of the sources actually expressed surprise and annoyance over the sheer profit that the conservative group has pulled in by just using this fundraising line. We just talked to the president, even of course if they did not talk to the president. Now, Kirk, by the way, owes his close relationship, the cozy relationship with Trump, in part to Kimberly Guilfoyle, who, by the way, I believe they're just selling, she has gone back to selling Trump steaks. Weird, but okay. Another hilarious ad where she's trying to cook steaks, but cooks them very poorly because she's never cooked anything in her life. But anyway, apparently she has, and again, she is the fiance of Donald Trump Jr., who had helped Charlie Kirk get a little in close to the Trump family. And so now on Guilfoyle, one source close to Trump said of her, quote, the president is very, very fond of her. Gee, I wonder why. I don't know. I couldn't think of one reason, or even two reasons.
Sexual anarchy.
Okay. Look, to go to where there's some jelly going on, some sources accuse Guilfoyle of enriching herself through access and proximity to the former president, with stories ranging from her receiving luxury clothing to shocking payouts. There is, of course, one story, according to one advisor, of a donor buying her some very expensive boots. How expensive? Not entirely sure. But other sources pointed to Guilfoyle's former $15,000 a month payments via Brad Parscale, who was also named in this, as well as her January 6th speech, which lasted about 2 minutes, but garnered about $60,000. Wouldn't it be nice to make $60,000 for 2 minutes of work? Not even work. She just comes out and says insane things and then caps it off as, and by the way, she was right when she said the best was yet to come for her in the form of $60,000. He's $60,000 paycheck. Okay, but anyway, again, I could definitely see a lot of jealousy. Just saying. But there's more. Others have taken aim at Jared Kushner. Oh, who, along with Ivanka Trump, increased their personal wealth by as much as $640 million, according to a Crew investigation. And then, by the way, after leaving the White House, Kushner started making even more money. One Trump advisor accused Kushner of making billions of dollars off Trump's name and his time in the White House via his new private equity firm, Affinity Partners, that has drawn heavy backing from Saudi influencers. Or, I'm sorry, not influencers, financiers. Others being accused of grifting off Trump's name include Roger Stone and Steve Bannon. The two Trump advisors spotlighted Stone as vindictive and untrustworthy. One of them added that Stone remains one of the many sycophants who bet from attention from the former president. And then, of course, there's Steve Bannon. The former president, according to a source, was apoplectic over Bannon's role in the We Build the Wall scam, a grift that drafted behind Trump's unfulfilled campaign promise, eventually drawing federal conspiracy charges for money laundering and fraud. Trump Look, we know Trump had pardoned Bannon. I think that's because grift knows grift. Okay? So now, even though they don't really talk to each other at all, as I'm going to get to a couple of quotes later, Bannon had, if you remember when he was removed from his position in the White House, it was insane even knowing that someone like that was inside the White House in the first place, was removed after he talked a little bit of shit about Trump. But anyway, Trump mad likely because he didn't come up with the We Build the Wall scam first. He stole all this money, millions of dollars, from Trump supporters, along with Brian Kolfage, and went and pocketed that money. Oh, we're going to build a giant, Donald Trump's giant, big, beautiful wall since he can't. And that's a sore spot with him because it's a failure. And we're going to just, again, take this money. We're going to put it in our pocket and we're going to buy our own, buy cars and clothes and fancy suits and all that wonderful stuff. And we're going to laugh at them. We're going to laugh at the donors. You gave us all this money. What kind of idiots are you? I can't believe you gave us cash. We're not going to do anything. We're not going to actually build a wall. Are you daft? Are you mental? Are you stupid? We don't have the authority to do that. We don't own the land. That's private property. No, it doesn't matter, though, because you guys are idiots. You'll give us money for anything related to Trump. And Trump still pardoned that guy. Not Bannon's accomplice, by the way, who is actually in serious problems. He is in jail for this. But not Steve Bannon. Nope. Let him go. That's what Trump did. Gave him a pardon. Again, grift knows grift. Now, of course, I think maybe in an effort to repay that kindness and to continue his own grift, Bannon has been a huge peddler of the big lie, the decertification of the election. But none of that means that they're still on friendly terms. Okay. In fact, one senior Trump advisor said this: they don't really talk. Another, of course, backed that up. Instead, Bannon and his former boss taken each other's material through osmosis, according to a Trump World source, and a supply of favorable Trump headlines generated by Bannon's remarks. So it is funny, though, overall, that Trump's real mad about people grifting. Again, as I mentioned, grift knows grift, right? Donald Trump grifts all the time. The man has been accused of not paying his workers, stiffing his lawyers. That's why no lawyers want to work for him. Paying $25 million to settle a fraud lawsuit against his own sham university, leaving real estate investors on the hook for failed projects, redirecting money from his children's cancer charity to his own company, not to mention using the presidency to stuff money into his own pockets. In fact, the Trump political machine has spent more than $12 million on Trump properties and products, including $5,000 on Trump ice water. Despite Trump ice water being discontinued 6 years prior. Oops. I mean, there's so many grifts and scams that Trump has run. I'm pretty sure I haven't even scratched the surface of them. The man is a complete and total con artist. So when I get this report saying that Donald Trump is mad because people are grifting off him, well, it reminds me of the saying, "Methinks thou doth protesteth too much." Both, of course, in the case of Trump himself, as were the aides, I think, that are speaking to the Daily Beast, who realized, oh, we weren't savvy or smart enough to create our own grift. Now, and I say that because remember, when it comes to Trump's world, there's only two different types of people: the scammers and the scammed. Yeah, he tried to sell. Has he tried to sell air yet? Well, there was Trump Air, but I think that's more of an airline. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Go to Alex Jones. It appears the day has come. Alex Jones has finally given up on Donald Trump. Whoa. Now, the conspiracy theorist, fresh off his devastating losses in court over having defamed the family of a Sandy Hook elementary school shooting victim, is now dropping Donald Trump and going to Team DeSantis.
Pig-headedly support him a few years ago, even though I disagreed with his warp speed, because I thought that we had to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary or Biden got in, back before they were officially running. But that said, I am supporting DeSantis. DeSantis is just gone from being awesome to being unbelievably good. And I don't just watch a man's actions, as Christ said, judge a tree by its fruits. I can also look in his eyes on HD video, and I see the real sincerity.
I just looked in his eyes. I saw the sincerity. You know what I'm saying? I looked deep into those eyes. So deep, you couldn't even imagine. I could see his soul. And in his soul, it's a beautiful man. Beautiful human being. So sincere. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? All right, so look, Jones also added that DeSantis is better than Trump, way better than Trump. Oh, okay. Now, look, here's the thing. Jones might actually be correct about one thing, in one respect at least, okay? And that's when he talks about the sincerity of Ron DeSantis. DeSantis is doing the things that he is doing, and they are terrible things, because he actually does believe in those things. Ron DeSantis is a fascist. Ron DeSantis, unfortunately, is also a competent fascist. So that's why a lot of people, and I've been saying this for a long time, and a lot of lefties have been saying it as well, that's why he's more dangerous than Trump. Because where DeSantis and Trump differ is that Donald Trump, and we know this, he sought power to enrich himself. Okay, that's why he wanted to become president, so he could stuff money into his pockets and to feed his ego. So Donald Trump has no ideology other than me. How's it going to help me? Okay, that's great. I don't really care about the country. How's it going to help me? Now, Ron DeSantis, however, does have a real ideology. He believes in the things that he does and in a far-right vision of America. And guess what? He's been putting that into practice in Florida for some time. That's what makes him incredibly dangerous. And look, some of the things that he's done, by the way. He's already created a security office to investigate allegations of mass voter fraud. Okay? Again, there's no documented mass voter fraud. It doesn't matter. He's going to do it anyway. Now, this office has massive penalties with fines up to $50,000 for doing things as simple as failing to submit voter registration forms within a 2-week window. DeSantis has also signed legislation forcing former felons to repay financial obligations before their rights to vote would be reinstated. Now, that's essentially a way to create a poll tax. Oh, first we're going to lock you up for bullshit reasons, throw you in jail, and then keep these massive fines on top of you. And then when you get out, after you serve your time, well, if you want to vote, then you're going to have to come up with all this money to pay these fines. Good luck. Well, again, having that on your record, depending on the crime, not having that record expunged, having a difficult time finding a job, you're just not going to be able to vote. It's a way to disenfranchise people. And he's been doing a lot of this because he wants to really just crush democracy in Florida. And if you think he'll do all this stuff, I mean, since he's already doing this stuff in Florida, you think he's not going to do this if he becomes president? There's more. Last year, he pushed a series of voting restrictions that included limits on mail-in ballot drop boxes, new requirements on voter registrations, and even made it more difficult to give food and water to people who are waiting in line. He's also cracked down on peaceful protests, limited tenure for professors at state universities, while accusing them of course, indoctrinating students, signed the Don't Say Gay bill, which of course bans any discussion or acknowledgement of gender ideology or identity in public schools, as well as of course going after discussions about race and racism, calling that critical race theory, which it really isn't. The teaching and materials of Florida schools, as I had covered on a previous episode, were meant to push right-wing Christianity onto students, and even claims that licentious behavior is a path towards tyranny. Licentious behavior. Basically, sexual immorality, or otherwise known as
sexual anarchy,
that will lead you to tyranny and totalitarianism. I mean, it's just, but I'm not even done yet. His spokeswoman, Christina Pushaw, regularly retweets the online hate and smear account Libs of TikTok, which right now, along with Matt Walsh, are literally threatening doctors at children's hospitals and directing their legions of brain-dead followers to try and, threaten and get these doctors killed, because they believe that, and again, this is not true, that these hospitals are doing like sex change surgeries on children. It's just not, it's not true at all. It doesn't matter though. Facts don't matter. They're doing this anyway. It's disgusting. So again, the guy and the people around him are just incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. That said, when compared to Trump, at least what we're looking at right now, DeSantis at the moment doesn't have much of a chance of becoming the 2024 nominee. In fact, after the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, DeSantis lost ground. Trump actually gained about 10 points in the polling, which he was already massively ahead. That said, speculation, okay? Poll numbers, of course, will change. Donald Trump hasn't announced a run for president. Neither has Ron DeSantis. We know that they both do have presidential aspirations. But right now, Donald Trump's got a lot of legal issues. So if Trump is somehow knocked out of the running, again, related maybe to the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. Remember, they did find classified nuclear documents. That might be something that could stop Donald Trump from running. So if that happens, who's going to be the number two? Ron DeSantis. So to me, I don't think Alex Jones is a dumb person. Corrupt? Yes. Terrible? Yes. A grifter? Yes, absolutely. And so here is Alex Jones, the businessman, saying, I think there might be some trouble with Trump. Might be time to jump off that train. Might be time to, start looking for an alternative. And that, again, it might be a good indicator of how serious at least some are thinking this is. And again, it could be just Jones by himself making this decision and saying, I see the writing on the wall. Let me tell you, the deep state's going to take down Donald Trump, FBI. Might as well go to DeSantis. I don't know. But again, remember, Alex Jones does play a character. He wants to make money. And so it could be that he sees Ron DeSantis as maybe the best way to start doing that. We'll see if he's right. Or if he's...
You're full of shit!
Okay. You have all been probably waiting for this. Mike Pillow is touting another griftathon, which means it's time for another episode of Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
From the man who brought you such beloved phrases as, well, forget about the evidence, and God says I'm gonna win, comes another hilarious prediction from Mike Lindell.
Yeah, this will be one of the most important events in history, everybody. I'm telling you, everybody, it's over for them. If you watch this, after this event, if anyone you talk to say, you can say anything to them, if they say, oh no, those machines are great, or this conspiracy theory, you didn't watch the summit. Nobody can play plausible deniability.
Let me play.
Okay, so this time it's gonna happen, okay? This time, we're gonna show you the evidence, and it's so great. And anybody who's watching that is gonna go, wow, that's really stupid, Mike. You're crazy. You didn't watch it. They didn't watch it, Steve, because you know what? Because it's so mind blowing. My brains are all over the place. That's the floor. They're probably on the ceiling somewhere. I don't know. It's that big. It's that big. Okay, and it's gonna be the biggest thing you've ever seen. Everybody, it's so over for them, the machines, the Iranians, the Pomeranians. We're going to get him this time. This is the 27th time he's made these predictions. And, I don't know. Maybe I'm undercounting. Look, everybody knows that it's crap. Everyone knows it's crap. Except for, of course, the cultists. And I'm going to explain why. Now, before I do that, speaking of the cult, here's Trump on Truth Social posting this. Make sure to watch the Moment of Truth Summit this Saturday, starting at 9 a.m., hosted by Mike Lindell. Watch the movie premiere. Can't even spell premiere right. And the selection code to hear experts and patriots from all 50 states showing how the 2020 election was rigged and stolen and how to stop it. Yeah. Look, I would say stop it. But, he's not going to listen to me. But, all right. Look, here's the thing. This is crap. It's all crap. And it's, unfortunately, for the people who still believe in Mike Pillow. And there are, unfortunately, people who do. Because, again, half of all Republicans believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump by Joe Biden. So these people exist, and there are millions of them who do believe in this. Okay? And so I've been racking my brain. I've been trying to figure out why, even after all the failed predictions, you still have people that believe this and that tune into these things. And worst of all, keep giving these people money. And then I came across a thread by a psychotherapist by the name of Nick Carmody. Now, he said some very interesting things about why Mike Pillow continues to pop up every few months, make a stupid prediction, a bunch of people believe it, and then it doesn't come true, and yet he comes back again, and the same people are like, this time, it's for real this time. Now, in the Twitter thread, he wrote that Lindell's tactics are actually similar to doomsday rapture cult leaders who keep promising the next prophesized date will be the real thing. It's going to really happen this time, okay? I mean, we saw it with, again, a lot of these different cults, the Heaven's Gate, the Jim Jones. Hopefully there's no Kool-Aid involved this time. But, all right, now, again, speaking of cults, I've never been in a cult. I'm not interested in being in a cult. So for me, I see this, and I think a lot of you as well, see this and say, no, this is dumb, he's wrong. How can you listen to people and continue to listen to people who are constantly wrong about everything? Again, objective reality here. But Carmody makes the point that what happens in these people's brains is that it's a lot like a gambling habit. In fact, look, you have an addict that will keep losing and losing, but it's the anticipation that there is a possible win in the future that keeps these people hooked and gambling. Again, I've never been a gambler. I spent $20 at a casino once, and I was like, this is bullshit. I could have actually bought something useful. I could have bought a snack. Could have bought a drink or something, like some mozzarella sticks or, played a video game in the arcade. I could have done all of that with that $20. This is garbage. This sucks. I'm never gambling again. It's stupid. Now, in that same way, for gamblers, it's a matter of no, you don't understand. If I just bet one more time, okay, if I just put just another $20 into that machine, it's gonna come out and I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win. I could win. It's 50-50, win or lose. Now, in that same way, Carmody believes that people who are more susceptible to confirmation bias, tribalism, and radicalization, that anticipation and the possibility of winning, which is a dopamine reward in the brain, is enough to keep them coming back to these conspiracies. He explains. When Lindell moves the goalposts, he not only creates pathologically unrealistic expectations, but he's stimulating people's reward centers in their brain in a way that creates an addiction-like response that keeps them coming back for more delusional information. And now he also explains that it has to keep getting crazier and crazier, which we've seen, okay, to get the same response. He says that if somebody watched and listened to Fox News for years and decades and had memorized the same talking points, they would eventually be able to anticipate future narratives 100% of the time. That actually lowers the dopamine reward because you already know what's coming. Oh, yeah, I already know this. So I'm not really all that interested. He says that this would produce a limited dopamine experience, even though the biases are completely confirmed. However, when right-wing news consumers then turn on OAN, Newsmax, Alex Jones, or in this case, Mike Pillow, and they hear new fantastical details that are added to the mainstream right-wing narrative, these people's anticipation to reward ratio is now disrupted. This disruption actually causes dopamine spikes, which are optimized when people are not able to correctly predict or anticipate half of what they're being told. Oh, it could be. Oh, it could be this. Oh, it could be the FBI. It wasn't Trump supporters. No, it could be the FBI. Or it could have been Antifa. It could have been this. It could have been that. Maybe I'm right. Oh, and if I'm right, that's going to feel so good. Again, the results, this results in people perpetually seeking out more delusional, fantastical, and conspiratorial information because eventually anything remotely factual has already been heard and therefore is anticipated. So in reality, a lot of these people apparently are like conspiracy theorists. These conspiracy theorists are like addicts that are chasing the dragon perpetually. Now, of course, that's a very, very, very simple way to put it. Okay? Human beings are very, very complicated, and I'm not pretending to be a brain surgeon or anything like that, or a psychotherapist. There is a lot involved here, but the overall idea of the right wing having walled itself off from reality and chasing crazier and crazier conspiracy theories in order to fit their own worldview, do confirmation bias, and because, of course, it makes them feel good to own the libs. And, of course, also is part of being in that tribe. All that seems to track. All that seems to track. And so it's also why it seems like facts don't matter. Because to them, It doesn't. They don't. They're addicted to this disinformation. They're addicted to the fake news. And by the way, again, confirmation bias. And hey, they keep coming back because maybe this time we got him. And maybe this time we can get Donald Trump back as president. Now, as for Mike Pillow, again, addiction, right? Mike Pillow's a former crack addict. And so his addiction went from crack to Jesus and now to right-wing politics, and specifically proving that the election in 2020 was stolen by the nefarious machines. In essence, this guy looks to be both dealing and getting high in his own supply of disinformation. Not a good place for you to be. And it almost makes you feel a little bit sorry for Mike. Okay. Let's move on. Fun. Fresh off his crudité catastrophe, candidate Mehmet Oz is getting hammered once again by John Fetterman. Now, he's doing so by pretending to understand the average person and their material needs while being worth millions of dollars. Now, following a video where Oz was asked by a prospective voter about how many houses he actually owns, Fetterman called him out on Twitter and then made this excellent ad. Take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man himself, Dr. Oz.
How many houses do you own? Really hard, but well, I legitimately, I own 2 houses.
Survey said. Rich people think different.
Oops. That is such a good ad. That is so good. So now look, Fetterman first got this information from a report from the Daily Beast. Again, following this, I think it was a Democratic consultant or something like that. I'm not sure the word, but who had asked Oz this question: how many houses do you own? Oh, I only own 2 legitimate houses. Okay, well, the Daily Beast reported on that and found that no, Oz, according to public disclosure forms, owns 10 properties. 10 properties. 9,000 square foot mansion in New Jersey, a 7,000 square foot a country house in Pennsylvania, a condo in New Jersey, 2 pieces of residential real estate in Turkey, 2 Manhattan condos, an oceanside mansion in Palm Beach, and a cattle farm in Okeechobee, Florida. Now, and a piece of residential property in Konya, Turkey, which is used as a student dorm. All right. So now, as I said, oops. He then tweeted this: I've never spoken to a Pennsylvania resident who doesn't know how many houses they have, let alone be off by 8. I can't tell if he's trying and failing to sound like a regular person with only 2 mansions, by the way, or if he genuinely has no idea. Now, look, I didn't know this before, but I looked into it. Dr. Oz rents out a lot of these properties, and they actually make up a sizable portion of his assets. About $100 million his total assets are. Fun. Now, Oz responded with this: I purchased my houses with my money. You lived off your parents until you were almost 50. Regular people don't mooch off their parents when they're 50. Get off the couch, John. Now, look, so that's in reference to how Fetterman's family received financial assistance from his parents. Now, this is while he was mayor of Braddock. Now, Braddock was a mess when Fetterman took over. You know how much he made from the city as mayor? $150 a month. $150. So he took a very, very small salary. That's all they could afford, right? And okay, well, $150 a month, that's not living large. And so in order to do that job and survive, his parents helped him out. Now, that's wonderful that he was able to get that help, right? Fetterman's parents gave him and his family about $54,000 in financial support back in 2013. Now, when you break that down, that's about a middle class wage. That is not being super rich. That equals about $28 an hour or about $1,125 a week. Again, back in 2013 numbers, right? Now, for a family of four, that's just barely breaking into the middle class. Fetterman actually has 3 kids. And so, again, that's not living super high on the hog. And now, partway through his tenure in 2013, he moved into an industrial-style loft he purchased from his sister for $1 after she paid about $70,000 for it 6 years earlier. So look, the guy's had a little bit of help. Cool. I don't have an issue with people getting help. Great. Especially if it's family. Wonderful. You know what? I also don't have a problem with people being wealthy. Unless they get wealthy through crushing other people or selling BS supplements like Alex Jones. In fact, I'm going to get into some of the stuff that Oz has sold. But before I get to that, note that John Fetterman is pushing policy that actually helps the middle class. You know, like higher wages, healthcare, better working conditions, pro-union. So, you know. Dr. Oz, however, he got wealthy by pushing supplements like hydroxychloroquine for COVID, and as well as several different fake weight loss supplements, among other things that have just not been proven at all. That's how Dr. Oz made his money, by duping daytime TV moms into buying useless fat-burning supplement crap. That's just the way it is. While Fetterman, during his career, helped this town of Braddock actually try to recover. So, yeah, big difference between the two. Big difference. And so, from what it looks like in the polling, you got this person that pushes fake supplements and another person that pushes real populism. It looks like Pennsylvania isn't buying Oz's snake oil. All right. Has Oprah apologized for helping promote Oz and his BS? Probably not. Not that I know of. But then again, I don't really pay attention to Oprah. In what is a massive case of be careful what you wish for, a panel of Fox News hosts were outraged after one Texas school district removed the Bible. Now, this is a result, of course, of a review process put in place in order to try to see what books should be banned. So this is a law that was put on the books by conservatives who wanted to go after LGBTQ literature and get it out of schools. Now, the way the law is structured is you have parents that can bring up a dispute about a book that might be offensive or have things in it that, you know, they might consider to be offensive or sexual material or things like or violence or things like that. And they would complain, and, well, you have to pull the book. Now, that book, or the good book, was taken off the shelf due to this policy the school district board had adopted on August 8th. According to the Dallas Morning News, Keller Independent School District spokesperson Bryce Neiman said that this new policy requires once challenged book to go through every once challenged book to go through a review process. And Keller Associate Superintendent John Allison said each book would be returned to its respective library if it is found to be in compliance with their new district guidelines. 42 books in total, including the Bible, a graphic novel adaptation of the Diary of Anne Frank, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe, were taken off school shelves, despite some of them previously being approved by officials to stay in circulation. Now, look, the Bible and the Diary of Anne Frank are likely to be returned following the review, but nonetheless, Fox hosts were big mad that the law was doing exactly what conservatives wanted it to do.
The Bible, the most read book in all of human history. In fact, over the last 50 years, nearly 4 billion copies have been sold. Compare that to Harry Potter, which is number 3 at 400 million. Not only that, foundation of the world's largest religion, a classic historical text. If you don't believe it in the religious context, at least it can be appreciated in that context. But that's the one we're removing.
I think that what's so difficult to digest here is that the whim of a few has such an impact on the many. And this was one of the reviewers, actually, her point was about that Anne Frank graphic novel, which is like the illustrated version, where she said, we approved this. And we thought to ourselves, like, yes, we saved this. This is literature that this school should be exposed to the students here. And yet, because someone else said, no, we're going to review it again, all of a sudden it's back under review. We already addressed this. The fact that because one person or 3 people put the Bible on, that is absolutely horrifying. This is when the school administrators need to step up and say, absolutely not.
Oh, the irony. You know what's funny is that she's so close to awareness. Emily is. Yes, Emily, you're almost there. Yes, the problem is, and that we've been pointing this out, is that yes, 1 or 2 crappy people can complain and get books pulled because they don't like what's in them. You know why the Bible has been challenged, right? It's to point out the stupidity of this law. Again, the laws that you guys supported. Look, and here's the thing too. The Christian Bible does contain numerous examples of sexual contact and graphic violence. You know, there's the whole killing all the firstborn in Egypt. Yes, that seems rather violent. Or the fact that there was going to be a sacrifice to God. Or torturing that poor Job guy. What did he do? All this stuff, okay? Yes, there is violence, there is incest, there is genocide, there is war, there is rape. Okay? There's all these things. And yet, Fox hosts are like, no, but we like that stuff. We like what's in the Bible because it's the Bible. We love it. We love it. But I show you the context here, or I'll give you the context of what's actually in the Bible because, well, those are the same issues, apparently, that you thought should be banned in schools. Oh, we can't expose kids to this stuff. But herein lies the problem. They're actually totally fine with the sex and violence. But they're just not fine with gay and trans people. That's the whole issue. And by the way, here is Kayleigh McEnany kind of admitting it.
Look, I think a new book that's written that has sexual content inappropriate for children, yes, I think that is a book that should be taken away, even though I'm in general not for canceling books out of library shelves. But a book like Anne Frank, I've not seen the illustrated version. This is a real depiction of something that happened in human history. Students need to see and understand the Holocaust, slavery, human atrocities in the world's history.
Oh, I'm not I'm not for banning books or censorship or anything or canceling cancel culture or anything like that. No. I just want to ban new books. I want to ban new books because I don't like the stuff that's in them. Because I think that it's inappropriate content for children. I think it's inappropriate because, God forbid, it mentions a gay person. But, we can't ban old books, though. But, again, the Bible. No. Look, okay, so, look. Here's the thing. We know exactly why these laws are put in place, and we know what these Fox hosts are defending or wanting to ban. And they've been having their way. In fact, between July 1st in 2021 and March 31st of this year, more than 1,500 book bans have been instituted in U.S. school districts. Of the banned titles, 41% included protagonists or prominent secondary characters who were people of color, according to PEN America. About 22% of the banned books directly address issues of race and racism, while 33% explicitly address LGBTQ plus themes, or have protagonists or prominent secondary characters who are LGBTQ. PEN America also found that 3 of the most frequently banned titles are all centered on LGBTQ plus individuals or touch on the topic of same-sex relationships. So what this is, it's homophobia, it's transphobia, it's racism. It's censorship couched in terms of, oh, we got to protect the children. We got to protect the children from catching gay from a book. Or becoming trans because they read a story about a trans person. Or, we also have to protect people from reading about the history of racism because we like the racism and we don't want to be embarrassed that we were so racist in the past. So understand what this is. These are deeply fearful people. Okay? And so they're afraid of anything that is different, that is not in their particular worldview. They're totally fine with things that are heterosexual relationships. But when it comes to anything that's same sex or transgender, no, that's what's inappropriate. It's complete hypocrisy and an absolute double standard. And what's funny about this entire situation is that here we have a situation where, oh, look, your bands that you support just came back to bite you. Sad. Baby. Okay. Let's move on here. I'm going to read some or thank some people over on Twitch, the Twitch community. Beth Graham 76, thank you for resubbing for a month of tier 1. Appreciate that. Mike Boy Raps, thank you for resubbing for a month of tier 1. Really appreciate that. And Beth Graham, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub to Muggles. Welcome, by the way. Good to see you here. Good to see you here. It is the Hoosier God himself. Super, super old throwback. Super throwback. Okay. Let's go here to the YouTube community now. Let's see. Oh my God, I remember that. That was a long time ago. It was a very, very long time ago. But Pepperidge Farm remembers. Dr. Zippy Mitscoots with a very kind $5 says, DeSantis is like Martin Sheen in the dead zone. We need a Christopher Walken to deal with him. I do not know what you're talking about, but okay. I didn't watch that movie, so I'm terrible when it comes to movies, making sure to watch them. But Monty Darno says the only logical conclusion to the GOP's fascist call arc is for Cthulhu to rise and take them all in his embrace down to the deep Atlantic and bye-bye. Well, I mean, whatever works. Mr. Shadow says, here's the $20 back. You deserve the snack and drink. Keep up the progressive fight. Thank you, Mr. Shadow. Appreciate that. And by the way, thank you for upping your membership yesterday. I forgot to give you a shout out on that, so I appreciate that. The Dead Zone was an 80s movie based on a Stephen King novel. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a movie buff. In fact, I'm pretty, again, terrible at not only watching movies, finding time to watch movies, but also remembering movies or remembering titles of movies, or even remembering what movies are about. What are you going to do? There was also a Dead Zone series. Again, no idea. No idea. All right. Let's see. Twitch community, by the way, we're going to do a raid here. Let's do a raid into the serfs. So, serfs.tv, Lance does a great job. As always, based show. For everybody else, thank you on YouTube and on Facebook. Thank you all. I really, really appreciate you all. If you want to support us, you can become a patron, patreon.com/JeffWaldorf, as well as, subbing, becoming a member, all that wonderful stuff. That said, thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you all later.
I will eat your ass.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry.
Tighten up my knees. I like my knees tight.
It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
No.
And why their due process rights are being so flagrantly and horrifically violated. Fired! Fired!
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Obama.